Scar! Brother, help me!
Long live the king.
You thought Scar killing Mufasa was the craziest part? Oh, just wait till you hear what really went down behind the scenes. Okay, let's get one thing straight. The Lion King isn't just a movie. It's a full-blown emotional experience. The moment Rafiki lifts Simba into the sky, chills, Mufasa's voice echoing, "Remember who you are?" Literal goosebumps. We've laughed with Timon and Pumbaa, cried when Mufasa fell, and cheered as Simba roared from Pride Rock. But you know what nobody told us growing up? There's a whole jungle of wild controversies tied to this movie. And not the silly kind. I'm talking jaw-dropping stuff that makes you go, wait, what? So if you thought you knew everything about The Lion King, buckle up. Because these 5 crazy controversies might just shake your view of the savannah. Let's start with the big one. Did Disney steal the entire story from another lion? I know, right? You probably thought the Lion King storyline was unique, the first of its kind. Well, that may not be entirely true. There's this older Japanese cartoon called Kimba, the White Lion, and wow, once you see the comparisons, you can't unsee them. Makes you wonder, did the Lion King steal its story? That's one of the biggest questions ever asked about this film. And it's not just random internet noise. When Disney released The Lion King in 1994, it was marketed as their first original animated story. But for fans of Japanese anime,
Kimba, who lives down in deepest, darkest Africa? Who's the one who brought the jungle fame?
a lion cub loses his father, faces a villain with a dark mane, hangs around with wise animals, and eventually reclaims his throne? Yeah, sounds super familiar. And get this, Kimba, Simba, the names are that close. Now, Disney has always said they didn't know anything about Kimba when they made The Lion King, and maybe that's true. But people who grew up watching both shows started putting scenes side by side, and they're eerily similar. Even the original voice of Simba, Matthew Broderick, apparently thought he was working on a Kimba remake. Yikes. Now let's talk about one of the weirdest blink and you'll miss it moments in the movie. Remember the scene where Simba flops down on the cliff, sighing as he looks up at the stars? For years, people swore that the dust swirling in the air spelled out the word S-E-X.
Was it something I said?
Yeah, that scene. And if you ever watched that scene, you probably found yourself wondering if those were actual words or just dust in the sky. And you know what? It does kind of look like it. Disney later said it actually spells SFX as a quiet shout out to the special effects team. But let's be real. Once people started seeing something naughty, that explanation didn't do much to stop the whispering. Eventually, they edited the scene in later releases, but it still pops up in discussions every now and then. Some people think it was a cheeky joke by animators. Others say it was totally unintentional. Either way, why did it have to be that specific word? Let's move on to Scar. Oh, Scar. Easily one of the most unforgettable villains ever drawn. But have you ever noticed how different he is from Mufasa? Not just in looks, but in how he talks, moves, and acts?
I know that your powers of retention.
He's dramatic, he's slick, he's sarcastic, polished, even a little flamboyant. And for a lot of people, that always stood out. Unlike the strong and noble vibe of Mufasa or Simba, Scar has this theatrical flair that feels like it was made to set him apart. And not in a good way. Over the years, people started pointing out that this wasn't just unique, it might have been intentional. Scar fits into a long line of Disney villains who share this exaggerated style, And it raised questions about why the bad guys so often carry traits that are portrayed as different or non-traditional. Not that Scar's style isn't fabulous. I mean, the drama is unmatched, but when you start connecting the dots, it really makes you think. Did you ever notice how the movie subtly suggests Scar is, well, queer-coded? Think about it. His theatrical mannerisms, his disdain for brute strength, his dramatic flair, sly insults, and obsession with control over power. While Scar's sexuality is never addressed outright, many fans and critics believe he was intentionally coded to fit outdated stereotypes of gay villains. A trend seen in other Disney films too, like Jafar in Aladdin and Ursula in The Little Mermaid, who was actually based on a real-life drag queen, Divine. Makes you wonder, why do so many classic Disney villains seem to act queer, while the heroes are always traditionally masculine or feminine? And speaking of things that make you go, let's talk about the hyenas. Now, some viewers love the hyenas for their chaotic energy, especially Ed. But have you ever looked at how they're treated in the story?
Look at you guys. No wonder we're dangling at the bottom of the food chain.
Man, I hate dangling.
Yeah? You know, if it weren't for those lions, we'd be running the joint.
They live in the shadows, they're seen as dangerous outsiders, and when they take over Pride Rock, the land literally dies. The weird part? The movie sets up this unspoken rule. Lions equals good, hyenas equals bad. But the hyenas were starving. They weren't evil for the sake of it. They just wanted a seat at the table. Still, they're cast as the villains living in the slums, with voices and personalities that seem purposefully different. When you start to really look at it, the way The Lion King divides its characters starts to feel a little uncomfortable. Like, is this movie unintentionally saying some animals are just meant to be rulers, and others are meant to stay in the dark? Think about the hierarchy in the movie. Mufasa, the noble king, speaks in deep, articulate English, voiced by James Earl Jones, no less. Scar and the hyenas, they speak in foreign, exaggerated accents, British, Latino, urban, often associated with outsiders. The hyenas live in the dark, desolate elephant graveyard and are literally referred to as slums in some script notes. When you break it down, the message is uncomfortable. The kingdom is peaceful when a certain kind of lion rules, but everything falls apart when the undesirables take over. The hyenas are portrayed as lazy, destructive, and untrustworthy, yet all they really wanted was equality and inclusion. Sound familiar? Some people who notice this have unpacked this for decades, calling out how The Lion King reflects unspoken ideas about race, power, and class. It's a heavy take for a Disney movie, but once the debate began, it sparked some serious soul-searching among people who had never seen the film in that light. And then there's the Shakespeare of it all. Yup, as epic as Simba's journey is, it turns out it's not exactly new. If the plot felt strangely poetic and full of inner conflict and ghosts from the past, that's probably because The Lion King is basically Hamlet with animals. Think about it. A young prince loses his father, his uncle takes the throne, the prince runs off in guilt and grief, talks to the ghost of his dad, and eventually returns to set things right. Sound familiar? It's not a bad thing. Shakespeare told some timeless stories, but it's kind of funny that this tale of Lion Kings and Hakuna Matata has its roots in one of the most tragic plays ever written. It's also funny how nobody really mentioned that when the movie first came out. So, yeah. For a movie about talking animals and Hakuna Matata, The Lion King sure knows how to stir the pot. But maybe that's part of why we love it so much. There's so much more beneath the surface. Layers you didn't see when you were a kid singing, "I just can't wait to be king," at the top of your lungs. And whether you see these controversies as coincidences, mistakes, or secret sauce, they only make the story richer. At the end of the day, The Lion King is still the masterpiece we grew up with, But now you know there's more going on in the shadows than just Scar plotting a takeover. And hey, maybe that's what keeps the circle of life spinning. If this video blew your mind even half as much as Scar blew up Pride Rock, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. More Wild Disney deep dives are coming your way. Don't miss out on the next video.